What's going on, Sumolings? Thank you so much for joining us for another product walkthrough webinar. I am Lindsay, and today we are joined by the team over at Cayzu. This is a cloud-based help desk software solution that lets you manage all your support inquiries across multiple channels in one place. It is on AppSumo right now, starting at $59 for a lifetime deal, and it does currently have a 5 taco rating. Before we dive into the tool, though, I just want to tell y'all a few quick things. The first is that if you want to tell us a little bit about your use case, why you're interested in this tool, you can go ahead and do that in the chat room. Or if you just want to say hi and let me know where you're watching from, I like that too. If you have any questions, though, about the tool, the deal, how to get set up, go ahead and leave those questions in the Q&A box down below this video. We're going to circle back to questions at the end of the walkthrough. For those of you that are watching the replay, hello, people in the replay. There will be a replay of this available. It'll come out, like an hour or two after we're done recording. All right, that is enough of me. Hey, Ben, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Lindsay?
I am doing very well. I am excited to be here. I know you've got a lot in store for us, so without further ado, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lindsay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Paswali. I run sales here at Cayzu Help Desk. I'm going to run you through, like Lindsay mentioned, a quick kind of walkthrough in the initial setup. If you guys have any questions, like she said, put it into the panel, put in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those as soon as possible. Now, so let's get started. So there's two main components of the system, okay? So again, Cayzu, as she mentioned, is a help desk, so it's either meant for internal teams, right? So if you want to support your internal users, or even for customer service, meaning you want to help customers that are buying products from your services, etc. Now, there's two main components of the system. There's the end user portal. Okay, so the end user portal is where your users, so again, the users can be customers or internal users, could come to potentially submit requests, right? If you allow sign-in, they can sign in, view all their past requests, as well as search and browse a knowledge base. Okay. Now, flipping over really quickly, the second portal would be the agent portal. Now, what we define as an agent is anybody actually doing support. Okay, so let's say a customer buys a camera from you, they have an issue, they submit, the agent would actually be the one answering. Okay. Now, the end user portal is brandable and customizable. Okay. So there's a couple ways of customizing, right? So all the surface items, right? So your logos, your colors, your text, right? Your banner images, and again, continue with the text down here, okay? That can all be done when we click the Customize button. So for example, if we want to change our logo, we'd literally just select a new logo from our machine, okay? Now, this can also be customized, and this is a very popular question, with your own vanity domain. So what you'll notice here, and I'm going to remove this path just for 1 second, you will notice support.myhelpdeskdemo.com, okay? So there will be no mention of Cayzu here, right? So many of you, I guess, have already submitted tickets, meaning support, to get support from us, okay? But if you do need any help with that, we can send you instructions, so there'll be no mention of us. Now, to get into the customize mode, I'm going to actually close this page, and I'm going to navigate back into the agent portal, okay, because I just realized I forgot to kind of show you guys that. So when we initiate the end user portal from the agent portal, it will put it into a unique URL, okay? This unique URL allows you to kind of customize, it puts you into customize mode. This is not something you'd give out to your customers, okay? Now, after you've made all your customizations, we can then kind of start playing with it, right? So I'm going to spend a couple minutes here kind of showing you how your customers can use it, okay? Then we're going to move into the agent portal. So like I mentioned, everything's indexed for search, okay? So your knowledge base is indexed for search. It can also be organized into folders and subfolders, okay? You guys control all these, okay? You even control the customization, right? So if you don't want a knowledge base, that can be removed as well, okay? The removal of sections, so for example, on the other side of things, let's say that you don't want sign-in, for example. These can all be removed, okay? The system will also tie into single sign-on, so that'll include social media like LinkedIn, Google, etc. We have our own sign-in mechanism, as well as like single sign-on into Azure or Active Directory, etc. Okay. The knowledge base is administered under the agent portal under articles. Okay, so what you will notice here is that there is a hierarchy. Okay, so the general will be the folder, and then you can have subfolders. That will correspond to your end user portal here. Okay, so these are your folders. When we jump in, we'll see your subfolders. Okay, very easy to add in knowledge. Okay, of course, same concept for the folders and subfolders, but let's go in and add an article. Okay, it's really as simple as putting in a title and a body. Okay, but keep in mind you can embed images, videos, URLs, right? After you've completed that, we would then choose which folder and which subfolder to assign it to. Okay. Now, another concept as well is the view level. So this is basically the permission of the article, and I point this out because it's important. So the first option would be all users, meaning anybody that browses your end user portal would be able to see those knowledge base items, right? Logged in, okay, you're going to force the user to sign in. Again, one of those sign-in mechanisms. And the most important one, and the one I want to highlight, is the agents only. So the agents only will permission this article to only be seen by agents, okay? Meaning that your users, anybody coming here, would not be able to see that, okay? Now, the benefit of having an agent-only article would be that you can use it when you're answering tickets, which is helpful, as well as you can access it under articles here as an agent, right? So that's kind of a reference point for you, okay? Now, one other thing that's very popular in terms of your questions is the multiple brand support. I won't get too much into it. I mean, I might at the end in terms of the setup if we have a little bit of time. But the concept is that you'd follow on screen, okay, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes, under Manage Brands, right? And then from there, you have to make a change in your DNS server, okay? So what the multiple brand means for anybody that doesn't know, okay, is that you can have two or more end user portals, okay? So this could be your portal one, okay, again, can be completely customized, branded, right? And this could potentially be your second portal, okay? Now, you'll notice that these have two completely different URLs, right, and a completely different look and feel, okay? Same concept with being able to submit a request, okay? These, on my second portal, okay, would be different questions, okay, because each brand is a self-containing almost entity, okay? So they'll have their own knowledge bases, their own customizations, their own branding, etc. But the nice thing is it will feed all back into your agent portal, okay? Now, one thing just to kind of mention is that another popular question would be is that can a certain set of agents only deal with a certain brand? So let's say they have two brands, and the answer is yes. Okay, so you can definitely permission the system to have agents. Again, agents are the people actually helping the customer or the user be able to only see one brand. Okay. Now, jumping into the submission of tickets. Okay, so I click submit a request. You can also have email, and that's another very common question is that can we have email to ticket conversion? And the answer is absolutely yes. So if you have, for example, support@yourcompany.com and tech support@yourcompany.com, let's say they have two emails, you can definitely set up both those two emails to go into the system and automatically create tickets. Okay. Again, if you have questions about that, you guys can email support@cayzu.com, and maybe as well as I will show you guys that we do have a full-blown portal as well. So maybe we can send that out after or something like that. And it should also be on the deal page as well, okay? Now kind of blab for a minute here. I'll kind of come back to the home page. So let's go through the submit a request really here. Again, we can do it through email. We can also do it through custom forms. Okay, so you see here that I've created a whole different, load of questions, okay, or forms. So the basic idea is that your user would come here. What do they need help with? Keep in mind you can have this as simple as one form, okay? I have multiple, of course. And each one of these fields is part of a custom field, okay? So you guys can make these as simple or as complicated as you wish, okay? Now, One other thing to mention is the automations, okay? So you can also set up automation in terms of ticket actions, okay? So for example, a few kind of examples would be, let's say that you want all technical questions to go to a certain set of agents or maybe one specific agent, okay? You might want billing questions set to a different person or a different collection of agents, okay? That's at the highest form. Keep in mind that that Cayzu's automations will also tie into your email address or into your emails, okay? So for example, if a ticket created, my printer is broken. So if a ticket is created using a form, okay, or an email, and it contains printer, for example, we can then perform ticket actions, okay, meaning that we can route this ticket to the printer guy or the printer group. We could even set the ticket as urgent if we wanted. We could also perform other actions, right? So those can also be set up in the back end, okay? Now, one other just quick thing as well is the sign-in, right? So if you do allow your users, again, not agents, these are the people looking for support, right? If you want them to be able to log in, that is totally possible. There is no cost to that, okay? So there is no charge for a user. There's only a charge for an agent, okay? If you do allow them to sign in, the users will be able to, of course, update their personal information like their phone numbers, et cetera, as well as either view all their tickets, add to their tickets, close their tickets. Keep in mind this is not required because it is all done via email as well, okay? So it's up to you to kind of consolidate and customize as you wish, okay? Now, jumping into the agent dashboard, again, the agent's the ones helping the customer, okay? So everything here will be indexed for search, okay? So whatever we put into the help desk, customers, agents, et cetera, will all be indexed for search. There is no limit in terms of what you're storing, okay? That's another common question is what are the storage limits? The storage limit per ticket is 50 megs, okay? But overall, there is not a limit, okay? On top of everything being indexed for search, everything is also automatically tracked for metrics purposes, okay, so for reporting purposes. Now, each report will give you different information, but keep in mind that you guys can report on everything, including all your custom fields, okay? Everything can be run on screen. We can export the data to Excel. We can schedule data dumps as well as tie into the API to pull out data, okay? Keep in mind that we do connect in with Power BI or other report builders through the API, and if you need any help with that, again, we can check out our support page, which I'll show you guys in a few minutes, or just email into support@cayzu.com, okay? Now, on top of the metrics and the search, this entire agent portal is controlled by permissions and roles, okay? So there has to be at least one administrator in your Cayzu account, okay, and that requires an agent. From there, that administrative account can kind of customize and permission each agent individually, okay? So, for example, if you don't want someone deleting, for example, or you don't want some people to merge, or you don't want someone accessing reports, for example, okay, all that can be customized. Now, the system will also work with views, okay, so that's kind of how tickets are organized. So starting at overview here, all the way to suspended will be all your default views, okay? So if I want to see unsolved tickets or what's past due or spam tickets, I'd simply click. Now, what you'll also notice are, billing, sales group, billing group, location, okay? These are custom views, okay? So if we click manage here, we're able to then create views and even choose which columns to display, okay? So you'll see here, ID, subject, requester status, updated, requested. Let's say that we created a custom field called order number. We could come into manage, right, and we could then kind of add that column, okay? And there's a variety of different columns as well, okay? Now, jumping into a ticket, before jumping into that, so one other thing I want to mention as well is that we will also tie into service level agreements because you'll notice that icon here as well as the pending, okay? So what a service level agreement is, or an SLA, is if you are potentially contractually obligated to answer a customer within a certain amount of time, or it's just your company policy to answer in a certain amount of time. So for example, let's say that any ticket that comes in as urgent, you'd want to be responded within an hour. Any ticket coming in with medium priority, for example, would be answered in 8 hours, Okay, so the SLA will keep you honest. Okay, so it'll give you graphical indication. It is also fully reported on. Okay, so there is a full-blown SLA report, so you'll be able to dive into, which tickets missed SLA, et cetera. Now, the yellow pending will refer to your customer or your user was the last to respond. Okay, so these tickets need your attention. That's what the pending label is. Okay. Now I'm going to go pick on Johnny Test here. Okay, so this is my user that submitted a ticket, and he clearly needs help with his printer. Okay. So just like anything, just like any email or any help desk, right, we can start replying. This is my reply. Now, keep in mind that you don't need to put in your signature, okay? I don't have to put in thanks, Ben, Cayzu, for example. That will be automatically appended to your ticket, okay? What we'll also do is kind of go back to what I mentioned earlier, is using articles in your responses, right? So if I had something pre-written, I can quickly, search it, include it, okay? Keep in mind that I can include it as a URL or as plain text, okay? Now, if you don't have a knowledge base, so let's say you're just starting out, or, you're in the habit of just answering emails and not saving it, you can also use the create article option from a ticket, okay? So what this will do is it will convert all the text except the internal notes, okay, which I'm going to get to in a sec, into that article, which you can then edit and then publish, okay? Everything we reply here, okay, will be threaded and timestamped within the ticket. Okay, by default, it goes out to the customer. Okay, keep in mind that you can also control that workflow in terms of the email workflow. So you can choose to turn that on and off. And on top of that, I kind of want to add into the internal note. So again, this is the public reply that goes back out to the user or to your customer. Now, the internal note is, you'll notice here in yellow, again, that is also threaded within the ticket, but it will not be visible to the customer, okay? So I'm going to keep a private note here, for example, right? I could literally just keep the private note. Again, this would not be sent out to the user on the ticket update, okay? Nor would it be visible if you allowed them to log in, okay? Now, another concept, and probably more importantly, is the collaboration with teams, right? So if you do have a ticket, we can target other agents within your account, right? So if I need help from Elena and Anton, I can send them private notes. I need some help, for example, right? Again, this is all private, not visible to the user, nor would it go to their email, okay? A few other things to note. You can very quickly merge. There's always the full history of the ticket. Each ticket will also have its own timesheet, okay? So if you do track time for support, you can track time, which can then be set as billable or not. From that, you can either export that data, and you can also tie into systems like QuickBooks Online and Harvest Billing, for example, okay? On the opposite of merge, another very powerful tool is the split feature. Okay, so common in support is that users will keep responding over and over via email or, forms, whatever, over with new problems. Okay, so to keep you guys kind of more organized, you can split the ticket, right? So what split does is it allows you to give the ticket a new subject, choose an agent, and then what happens from there is that customer, in this case Johnny Test, would get a second or get a new email with a new ticket number. Okay, so basically what you're doing is you're splitting the information out because it doesn't belong in the ticket. Okay. Now we will also track. We will also keep organized and track all of your users. Again, those could be customers or users, right? So we can track all the basic information. We can also customize this. So if you want to, make things more personal, for example, do you want to write down their spouse's name, for example, so that when you're having a conversation, you can bring it up? Or do you want to add in specific drop-downs, right? So this can all be customized as well, okay? So look at this as kind of like a contact card, right? So in the contact card, we will have the associated assets if that's something you utilize, as well as all their past tickets, okay? So again, the history will always be there as long as the subscription's active, okay? So we don't delete the data unless you delete it, okay? Now, I'm going to jump into the admin and kind of point out some of the high-level features, okay? Again, we're not going to be able to do everything, but this should hopefully get you guys some good ideas. So as I mentioned, the agent roles, okay, and the permissions, okay, so this is where we administer adding the agents, their roles, again, what they can do and can't do, as well as groups. So groups is kind of like a department, okay, so it's kind of an important concept. A group is basically a collection of one or many agents, okay. An agent can also belong to one or many groups as well, okay. The concept of a group is multifaceted. One is for permissions, right? So keep in mind that you can permission agents to only see a set of tickets. That includes for multiple brands, right? Another use of groups could be that you have HR tickets coming in and finance tickets coming in, for example, right? If you don't want HR seeing finance and vice versa, that can also be, that's permissioned, okay? The multiple brands. So the idea will be is that you can set up the multiple brands, right? So again, at the forefront, the multiple brand will have its own end user portal, okay? Again, they'd be completely different, completely customized, et cetera, right? We would simply click the add brand, okay? We'd follow the on-set instructions or the on-screen instructions. We also do have setup documents, right? Keep in mind that this is kind of a multi-step approach because you do need to make a CNAME record, okay, in your DNS. So it's not just updating here, okay? Email, as I mentioned, you will have access to have one or many different email addresses, okay? So again, if it's a tech support email, a billing email, right, anything's possible, okay? Again, we have those instructions for there. And you will have the ability to enable certain email letters or edit them, right, for both your agents as well as your requesters. And your requesters will be your users or your customers, okay? Now, keep in mind to focus, and I know this is not very apparent, we're changing this, is that there are 2 pages for both, okay? So don't forget when you are editing or turning on and off that you go to both pages, okay? Now, the business rules is your service level agreements, right? So depending on, as I mentioned, right, so we would first, and I would probably suggest everybody to set up their business hours, okay? Even if you don't want to use SLAs, this will help. This will help with your reports, et cetera, because that will be used for your initial response times, et cetera, meaning that if you have business hours that are for specific days, okay, specific hours, meaning not 24/7, the SLAs will consider that, okay, meaning that if you have an SLA for a ticket that comes in at, let's say you have a 1 hour response time for all ticket, okay, let's say that this ticket comes in on Friday at 4:30, okay, so we're done work at 5 o'clock. So only 30 minutes of that time would be used that first day, okay, that's why it's very important to set up your business hours. Assignment rules is also getting expanded on. We're adding in triggers soon, but the concept here will be basically performing ticket actions, okay, on incoming tickets. So after we name it and give it a description, we can then select conditions. Again, now this is very expandable because it will tie into custom fields, it ties in all your forms, it ties into email, right? So I'll give you an example. So for example, if an email contains at important customer, for example, I want to set the priority as urgent, and I want to, for example, set a group, for example, that might have everybody in it, okay, because we want this guy taken care of, okay? Another way of doing it, again, as I mentioned, this will be tied into your forms, right? So the same concept will be true is, you'll see this custom field here, it says which version of software is installed. I'll have 1 to 3, okay? Now, I can set individually or all the same to perform different actions, right? So if someone did select with 1.0, I could assign it to agent Ted as well as set it to urgent, for example. Okay, so that's kind of the concept there. The custom fields and the custom forms is how you will control these forms. Okay, so you can kind of customize these. Again, these are all custom fields. Okay, there's a variety of different custom fields, and I'll show you really quickly. And as I mentioned, custom fields can be added to company and contacts, okay, and assets, right? So the one we kind of just talked about was for contacts, right? So if we wanted to track, some extra detail about a contact or a company or whatever, that can be added in, okay? But for this purpose, I'm going to add a custom field to a form because I want to potentially use it in one of my forms, okay? So So I just simply click Add Field, and I just really want to show you kind of the types, right? So there's everything from label, single line, number, paragraph, checkboxes, drop downs, calendar controls, dependent fields, and company list is more of an internal thing. So if you're using that for customer service, you wouldn't want to show that. Okay, now each custom field will do something different. And again, we have lots of information on it at support.cayzu.com. Okay, so this is our public-facing knowledge base, hundreds of articles, right? But again, if you need to, just submit us a request or email support@cayzu.com, okay? Now, there's also built-in satisfaction surveys. There's quick responses, which will kind of be a complement. So that's kind of a macro or a canned answer. The end-user portal settings here I'm going to show you really quickly as well, because this is kind of the second way of customizing your end-user portals. Okay, so for example, if I didn't want a knowledge base, for example, I might want to hide the whole category section as well as a knowledge base, right? So the idea will be here is that there's 3 tabs. Okay, so for example, display. Do I want to hide search on my end user portal? Yes, right? And then I'd come back here and kind of refresh. Okay, so that's kind of the second way of customizing this. Okay. Now, one other thing is the satisfaction survey is fully reported on as well, and you would have control over many more back-end automation. So, for example, under ticket settings here, one thing that I always show is automatically closing tickets and the probably resolved ticket after, okay? So what you will notice, okay, and I'm going to jump over into a ticket for a sec here. When I'm going to reply, let's say that I've made my reply. Again, I don't need my signature, right? I can choose just to update the ticket, okay? So what that does is it goes from pending support automatically to pending customer, okay? Now, these statuses can be customized, okay, but the concept is that the system will change it from waiting on you, basically, because it's waiting for support, to pending customer. Okay. Now, if I just click Set an Update, that'll do it automatically for me. I don't need to touch this. Okay. If I just wanted to resolve the ticket, I could also click Send and Resolve. Now, let's use the case that this is my reply. Okay. I believe, and you probably wouldn't say this to the customer, I believe that this fixes, oops, if I could type today, I believe this fixes your issue. I'm 99% sure. Most people probably wouldn't say that, but I'm being very obvious here. So in the case that you think that this should solve the customer, you can literally choose the probably resolved status and click Send an Update. What that does is, based on this setting, okay, would then send a second email to the ticket or to the customer in whatever defined days. Okay, so let's say in your case you want 15 days. So if we don't hear from that customer and that status is chosen, that will automatically close after 15 days. Okay, now, a more common one would be this one, okay? So again, I just explained how it goes from pending support to pending customer, right? So if we never, ever hear from that customer again, and let's say it's been 30 days, 60 days, 7 days, whatever you want, and you have this enabled, that will automatically close that ticket, okay? So it'll kind of keep things more clean for you, okay? Now, the app integration, and I know we've heard of tons of suggestions and feature requests, and that's great. Just so everybody knows, is what we do is that we literally get, I couldn't even tell you the number of feature requests we get a day or a month. But everything's kind of cataloged and prioritized and voted on, basically. And the votes are basically done by the request, right? So, when the more people ask for a certain integration or et cetera, that's what kind of gets moved up. Okay, and again, the public roadmap's been something that's come up a lot. We don't necessarily share the public roadmap because things are subject to change, but we are definitely working on a new iOS app, more automations, reporting, and we're going to try to put something together that hopefully can get up on the deal page as well. But plenty more integrations is coming as well. Okay, but each integration will do something different. For example, Jira project management, right, would link development tickets, back to your support portal, okay? Microsoft Teams and Slack, for example, will allow you to set up rules to publish notifications of tickets into your channels or your groups, right? So each integration will do something different. There's everything from paid integrations to free integrations. If you don't see it on the list, let us know, but definitely it's probably already on our roadmap, but that should not stop you from suggesting it. okay? Now, single sign-on, right? So I mentioned that a few times. Both portals, and when I mean both portals, I'm talking about the agent portal as well as the end user portal will support single sign-on. Okay, so that's true for Google SSO. It's for Microsoft Azure, for Active Directory, which could be local, for example. Okay, that's how we enable that. And finally, under the security tab, there is a full-blown API. Okay, and there is tons of API instructions, etc., at our website. If you guys just scroll right to the bottom, you'll see the API. You can also search it again at support.cayzu.com. Okay, so we even have examples of API, etc. If you need help, let us know. Okay. Now, a couple other things that I want to point out. So very important to know under your name here, under settings, you'll be able to customize, your personal settings, right? So your date format, are you available? So this is an advanced automation, okay? Your time zone, backup agent. So that's a common question. So the backup agent is used, for example, if you're on vacation, okay, and you're in the automated distribution of tickets, right? You can make yourself basically either unavailable, okay, or have a backup agent, okay? So a backup agent would automatically get all your tickets, okay? One other thing to point is the signature here, okay? So again, remember we're answering a ticket. You don't need to put your signature. You can put it in full HTML. You can put it as plain text, okay? And that would automatically get appended. And finally, probably more important, is the notification settings, okay? So from here, each agent can choose what to be notified on, okay? So from everything from notify on everything to notify down to specific groups or what's been assigned to you, for example, okay? So that's very important because you can get all emails, some emails, no emails, okay? Now, one other thing as well to note, okay, is you can also, the administrators can also assume identities, okay? And this is very related to notification settings. So, for example, if I wanted to assume the identity of Anton, again, you can't assume an identity of another administrator, only of agents, okay? But as you can see now that I am that I am under Anton now, and I can come in here and customize all his settings, for example, okay? Now, that's kind of the high-level overview, so I don't know if we want to take questions or what kind of the next step is.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take some questions. Sumo links. If you
Okay.
have any questions that you want to send to the Q&A box now, you can. We have had Adam here answering the questions as they come in, so there aren't any. But let me go ahead and look through these to see. We got the standard. We got the do you have a roadmap? We got the how many brands can we add?
Yep. So the brands. Okay. So the max brands is 50. If you want more, now let me explain one thing about brands because there was initial confusion. Now, a brand, I kind of went over again, right? It's two different customer-facing portals, okay, end user portals. Now, that will also give you multiple emails, right? Each brand has to have its own email, okay? Now, I need to make it very clear because this is a confusion point, is that you don't need to set up multiple brands to be able to help multiple customers, okay? You could have one brand, okay, one end user portal, and support thousands of customers. Okay, there is no association to a brand to a customer. The brand is literally just the customer-facing differences. Okay, so I just want to be clear about that. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, just want to clarify that.
And then can you just clarify which platforms can the end user submit tickets for?
Yeah. Okay, so what was the question? Which platform?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So users can submit tickets using the end user portal. They can send in tickets via email. If you integrate into a chat, all the transcripts, et cetera, would be sent into tickets. Twitter, we can do tickets. Facebook's been a popular thing, so we've had quite literally a nightmare with their API. So we are going to reinvestigate for Messenger because I know that's been a popular thing. But so hopefully that answers the question. I don't know if that was the answer to the question.
All right. Sumo links, if you have any more questions, you can send them in here. Again, we already touched them all. So Let's see.
Yeah, and and just one other thing as well, and I've mentioned this many times, but it's so important that everybody remembers that we do have a full-blown knowledge base, right? It is searchable. You can go through, browse, right? Again, like the API, to pick on the API, right? So we can come in here and we can grab sample API code, for example, or whatever, right? So keep in mind that we do have that knowledge base, as well as support@cayzu.com. It's just a simple email address, and you can also submit this way. I can't stress that enough because it will help you guys and get your answers the quickest.
Wonderful. All right. So if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and close us out. Sumolings, if you have not already, you can go to AppSumo right now to redeem your codes for Cayzu. That's at Cayzu-help-desk is the full slug for that. It is starting at $59 for a lifetime deal. And of course, this is backed by AppSumo's 60-day guarantee. So you can go ahead, get set up, play around with it, see how it works for you. Once you've done that, we do love to read your reviews on the deal page. As I mentioned earlier, it's currently got a 5-taco rating. So go ahead, check it out, play around. If you have any more questions, get in touch with their support team. You can always leave questions on the deal page as well. I do I do see that a couple questions have come in the Q&A.
And I can answer that.
If people want to know,
I can answer that. Yeah.
Will there be
live? Yeah, so definitely live chat is on our radar, for sure. I don't have a timeline, but again, we'll try to do our best, but it's difficult to have a timeline, especially in software. But yes, for sure. Yeah, that's on our roadmap.
It looks like PJ broke my rules and he put his questions in the chat. So he's moving them over now. If I have an SLA, but my main agent is not available, can the ticket be rerouted to another agent automatically based on time zone/agent schedule?
Okay, so I have an SLA, but my main agent is not available. Can the ticket be rerouted to an agent? Okay, so yeah, so that's the concept of the backup agent, but it's not based on a schedule. It's more done on a manual basis, right? So if you're, for example, leaving on vacation, you'd make yourself unavailable, or you'd put a backup agent. So not necessarily on like a schedule, but yes, if you enable and disable it.
Awesome. Can we assign support time or credit limits to users or clients?
Okay, so, yep. Do you want me to read these, or do you want to read them? Because I have them on my screen. I just don't want to. Okay, yeah, okay. Can we assign support time or credit limits to users, clients, examiner, 2 hours monitoring? Okay. Oh, sorry, Liz, you go ahead. Okay, so to answer this question, he's asking is, can they put in credit limits, meaning that you have a customer, he buys 4 hours a month from you. Okay, so we don't have the hour concept, but we have what we call a support contract. So it's based on time. So meaning that if someone pays you monthly, for example, for your service, you can kind of tie that into the system, and the system would tell you that they're expired, for example. If they didn't pay or they've only paid 6 months, it would tell you it's expired. So it's not based on hours, it's based on time. And go ahead, Lindsay, you can read the questions. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take away your job.
Also read them on your end, but I'm reading them for
okay. Yeah, you're much more, I like your voice much better, so go ahead. Yeah, you're great.
Is a customer requests for live or video support, can this platform integrate with scheduling tools like Zoom AI or Vectera?
Okay, so we do have actually a knowledge base if you want to set up, like scheduled tickets, for example. But we don't have integrations with those 2 apps you mentioned. But if you did want to schedule tickets, we do kind of give you, I like to call it a workaround. And again, in our roadmap is the concept coming of a template ticket or a recurring ticket. So currently no integration with those 2 apps, but there are ways around to schedule tickets, et cetera. And if you need help with that, we can send you the information.
Awesome. Can I use my website's infos, blogs within the knowledge base, or do they have to be recreated to be found in Cayzu?
Yeah, good question. You could technically leave your blog, right, et cetera, but you would probably have to duplicate the knowledge, right? So we'd come in here, we'd go under articles, we'd go add an article, and I don't think this is ideal, to be honest, but if you already have something like, mycompany.com/blog XYZ, for example, you could say, how to fix your printer, for example, and then kind of link that way, right? So there is no native integration that way. It'd be almost like duplicating it, so meaning you could duplicate the full text here, or you could just link it to your existing blog, and hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, PJ. Thank you for moving these over. When I'm emailing back and forth with the customer and something needs to be created tagged as a support ticket, do we use an extension or forward the specific email to a support email tied in with Cayzu?
Yeah, create to support it. Yeah, correct. Okay, so how the system works is that you would set up all your agents, okay? So, for example, rob.paswali@gmail.com, okay? So this is his agent email, okay? Now, keep in mind that the agent email is different than your support email, right? So your support email could be support@yourcompany.com, for example, okay? Again, it could be any address. So as long as Rob, okay, this email address, or any other agent that has an email address, they literally can just forward that message that they got in their personal inbox into their support address. So in this case, rob.paswali@gmail.com would forward the customer's message into support@yourcompany.com. And whatever that address is, it would automatically create a ticket.
Fantastic. Thank you. Last question here. Is there an integration with TeamViewer?
There is no integration with TeamViewer, but that is on our roadmap as well.
Amazing. And that's it. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up again. I don't know that I want to do the whole spiel, so you can go ahead and redeem your codes on AppSumo for Cayzu right now. Again, starting at $59 for a lifetime deal, backed by all the stuff. And of course, leave your reviews and leave any questions there. Thank you so much, Ben, for hanging out with us.
Thank you, everybody. Lindsay, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining. Look forward.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.